guests. First of all, I would like to introduce Reverend Kyle Jones from Mount Friendship Church, Baptist Church of Curtis, Arkansas. I also have a counselor from community counseling, Mrs. Beverly Beharana. Beharana. And they are here today with me. Thank you both for being here on the Jenni Love Show today. And the questions that I have on divorce, I have a couple of questions. Reverend Kyle Jones, I have a question for you. How do you feel about people today getting divorces?
Well, speaking from a biblical perspective, obviously it's something that we don't encourage. It's a sad situation when people find themselves in relationships that they feel that they can't continue. So we see from statistics all throughout America that half of all marriages in the United States end in divorce. And as church persons, laity, all throughout the entire community, we have to find ways in which that we can better prepare people for marriage so that we can do something about decreasing the numbers as far as divorce goes.
Yes, I totally agree. Do you at Mount Friendship Baptist Church, do you guys offer something for young couples or married couples?
At Mount Friendship, we do offer couples counseling, especially prior to weddings for couples, as well as I just do this for friends and family alike. Whatever we can do to try to change that dynamic, the divorce ratio, to try to make stronger families, stronger communities.
I totally agree. I think that when couples decide to make that a foundation, I think that the first step is reaching out at their church home. Mrs. Beverly, what are your views and how do you feel about people divorcing today?
Well, I think everyone starts a marriage with hope, and the tragedy is always that people have lost hope in their sense of communion and community with one another. And so I think it's always tragic in one way or another, although I do think sometimes for issues of safety or other very important reasons, it's probably needs to happen for one person or another. I think the majority of divorces are probably preventable if people would get the right help and probably back up a little bit, get the right help before they get married or the right information before they get married.
Reverend Kyle, what do you feel that causes divorces in this day and time?
Well, statistics show the money is the number one cause for divorce. But typically, I think it's probably something more underlying than that. Money is listed as the reason, but really what it becomes is about communication. Communication. Money is not an issue if there's an understanding of the circumstance of what's really going on with everyone's financial situation. So it kind of boils down to the essence of most reasons. Those communication is really the key as far as relationships go, because that's what's important about a relationship, continuing that foundation and making sure that it's lively and beneficial mutually to both parties. So I think communication is really the true answer. People's statistics say money, but I think really the essence of that is communication about a whole facet of issues that come up in there.
Yes, Ms. Beverly, with you working in community counseling, we also see that a number one factor in divorces is incompatibility, a divorce, mental illness. I know that you working with community counseling, does that play a major factor in the divorces today?
In divorce today, it depends on how you look at it. There's risk factors, and then there's reasons that people report are why they're, say, coming in for counseling. And money is certainly right up there on the list that people come in for counseling. Other reasons people come in are because they feel loss of closeness and intimacy, and an inability to resolve conflict, like you're saying. So it's all kind of like what lens you put on to look at the problem. But people generally come in response to a crisis. They found out something about their spouse. There's been something revealed. There's the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapists report that 50% of people who seek counseling because there's been an infidelity.
Yes.
But as Kyle would probably agree, the infidelity is often a symptom of a pre-existing problem in the relationship and not the absolute cause of an infidelity on occasion. So I think fundamentally you have a communication problem and you have an inability to negotiate solutions to problems. Because once you communicate, then if you have that problem still presents itself, which is, okay, what do we do now?
Exactly. Reverend Cal Jones, how many people have you dealt with marriage problems, and how do you help them?
I've been, I guess, fortunate to usually deal with people before they get married.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to counsel many couples, as well as when it comes to relationship counseling. I've done a lot of that, especially for colleagues and friends, people who know my history. I've been able to maintain a relationship, which may seem like a drop. They've got married, though there have been some. A couple, newlywed couple, a couple that I've married, I've counseled with them. I mean, I've counseled a lot of different couples, but I've had the opportunity more often than not to counsel those before marriage.
So you solely recommend marriage counseling before?
It is very, very important. I think that it really depends on the people as well.
Right.
There are some people who come into counseling, some people that I've talked to who are preparing to get married, and they have everything figured out. I mean, it's just they had the luck, blessing of being raised in a nice household where there's a loving relationship between their mother and father, so they have the example set. They've taken the time to communicate with the person that they're going to marry, and they've worked out so many issues. They've discussed things. They've communicated with each other. What marriage counseling really is somewhat, I'd say, shade tree counseling, in the fact that you take the time to, without the professional training, such as Mrs. Bayerano, well, in the clinical sense, professional training, but to take the time to look at the examples of the Bible gives us, try to show and communicate expectations of the couple early on, how to flesh things out, communicate before moving into a home together, and you can't stand the fact that you use your socks. And so then, you're fighting about this, and you're fighting about that, and then you have a situation that you got to It's important. I think Mr. Bayerano hit on it earlier. The Bible does not condone or accept the cases of adultery, but also it's important for us in the church to take a stand instead of trying to make people stay committed in the sense where they're being abused and where their life is in danger, their children's lives are in danger. We have to make sure that we communicate that that's not Christ-like, and that it's impossible to remain yoked or to follow someone, especially as a wife or husband, someone who is abusive to you, who is going to harm you and harm their children. So we got to make sure that we make that clear. Where there is danger, that it's important. Before someone ends up dead, it's better to get a divorce.
Yes.
That is very, very, I'm very adamant about that.
Okay, I thank you for that. That is very
Community counseling services, not so many, because my role there, it tends to be different.
Yes.
But I've been doing this work since 1988 in different capacities, and so there's probably been hundreds of couples is what each member of the couple sees the problem to be. And then you, depending on what your training is, you approach it from oftentimes a skill development perspective. Because it's just, Kyle and I are on the same page about this stuff. Oftentimes what you're doing is teaching communication skills, negotiation skills. You said a lot when you talked about the expectations that people bring into relationships. Oftentimes people don't realize they brought role expectations into the relationships that the other person had no intention of ever filling. But they assumed because it was a man or a woman that they automatically were going to do those things. So oftentimes, you have to start with an assessment, and then you start with developing the skills or resolving the conflicts in productive ways. Then you evaluate the process, how they go about doing their homework, basically. And the stats show people really participate. At least half of couples find that it benefits and generally feel like their marriage has been saved. But the problem is oftentimes people come in when it's too late. There's been too much damage done. The trust is gone, and they are too hurt. And sometimes no matter how they try, they can't recover from that. And to proceed forward would be in a state of sort of falsehood. Because they'd be presenting as if they really trusted or even loved this person when they had lost those feelings. That's the sad news. But there are a lot of success stories too.
And that's the good thing.
I think what Ms. Bayerano was talking about, those role expectations